Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this week's YouTube live stream for Rocky Brand. Completely forgot the name Rocky Brand there, just went right out of my head. I hope you are well. There's David jumping on stream first as usual. I love people who are prompt, it's really, really good. It looks like the stream is doing pretty good today. I think the chat's only a few seconds behind my stream. Hey Eric, thanks for joining. So we're going to have a little chat. Hey Stamash, how you doing? Fuad, how you doing? Long time no see. It's been a while since you've been on a live stream. Great to see you back. We're going to have a little chat just around my experiences of working for larger agencies not as an employee, but as a freelancer, as a sole trader, however you want to name yourself, as a solopreneur, but in the design field, and sort of how that has benefited me over time, and not just benefits in terms of work, but the kind of the side effects of it, but also we'll discuss the downsides of it as well. It's not, as everything in life, everything isn't always positive and good. There are always negatives to it. So it's about weighing up the balances between everything. Hey GM, how you doing? From Bangladesh. Welcome. Hello from Scotland. So I just wanted to kind of go through my experiences as we do with these sorts of things. I've been around the block a little bit and experienced a few things in the design world, and it's always good, I think, to pass those on. You will experience your own journey, of course. I can only sort of tell you what my particular journey was, but there will be some things that you can learn from it and avoid certain pitfalls, or decide that certain things that I've done sound like the type of path that you would want to take, and for other people it may well be that's the path that I definitely don't want to take, but that's good too. That's helping you make the right decision for you and moving forward. So let me just jump to my desktop. So I've prepared a little bit this week. I have some kind of notes here. If anyone was here for the last live stream where I talked about NFTs and a little bit of crypto, NFTs and cold wallets and hot wallets. I got a little bit lost myself. I know a lot about that world, but I didn't have enough structured notes, so it kind of got a little bit tangled up. I have had some good feedback to that video. People did seem to learn quite a bit about it, and a bit like me saying, I might tell you the path that you don't want to go down. There were quite a few people who said, yeah, I don't think NFTs and crypto are for me, at least not at the moment, because it is quite the Wild West out there. It is a bit much. So let's have a chat. Fuad saying, I love your RYB logo. Thank you very much. I don't know if Slavek's going to actually join this live stream this week, but Slavek from Lagovka is the gentleman that designed the new logo for me, and I absolutely love it. I love it. Just quickly talking about that, I recently had some audio branding done as well. So an audio logo has been created for Rock Your Brand. I do want to tie that in and try to get some motion graphics done as well. But I worked with Drop Music Branding. They're specialists in creating audio logos and audio loops and stuff for brands, and I was actually just speaking to Gabriel today from there, and I want to get Gabriel onto the live stream so that we can talk about audio branding and what it can bring to the brand, and why I think as logo designers, if you're a logo designer, you should be not just designing the visual side of it, but you should also be thinking, think wider. And I would love to get Gabriel on here, and anyone who joins the chat can ask Gabriel questions live on the stream. I'll also open up questions in advance so that we've got, some questions pre-prepared. for him. So yeah, so I've got an audio logo prepared as well. And for anyone that's in the Rocky Brand Discord, if you're a Discord member, I'll probably drop that. I'll drop those sound files into Discord next week to get your feedback. I know it will interest David. David's a musician, so it'll be interesting to hear his feedback on it. But yeah, it's just, I'll probably drop it into the Discord and give those people all the members there a bit of a heads up on the audio branding for Rock Your Brand. But thanks, Fuad, I really appreciate it. Hey, Henry, welcome. Early morning for you, 2 a.m. or something. Thanks for joining. So let's kind of have a chat about finding more work, really. That's one of the struggles for anyone who's a freelancer, is finding your own work. As an employee inside a creative agency, the work is there. You're given your tasks, you're given your projects to do, and you're paid a fixed amount of money at the end of the month. Great, that's for some people and not for others. I've obviously been down that route. I've been an employee and now I work for myself. And so I went from knowing how much money I was going to get every single month, so I could plan things, I could plan holidays, I could plan buying things, and then I moved to being a freelancer, a sole trader, and you don't know when the work's coming in. You might you might have a really good month, but you can't spend it because you don't know if the next month's going to have any work, and you might need to use that month to pay some of the bills. So freelancing can be quite tricky. There's obviously pros and cons to that as well. You've got the flexibility to do with your own time what you want and work in your own time. Funnily enough, a lot of that flexibility is coming into the employment world as well. You've got a lot more flexi time. You've got people who are doing remote working. So there's now sort of more of a crossover between sort of the freelance world and the employee world. But obviously, if you work for an employer, there are other benefits that you can get depending on where you are in the world. So for example, if you're in the States, in the US and that, they have, you need health insurance, and so employers will give health insurance. We don't have that in the UK because we've got the NHS, so we don't really, you can have private health insurance if you want, but you don't really need it. So you'd have things like, health insurance, you get holiday pay, so you go on holiday for a couple of weeks and, you still get paid for that time that you're away. As a freelancer, as a sole trader, if you're not working, you're not earning. So there's those stresses as well. So how do as a sole trader, there's we're all trying to find work, and it's just so competitive, and it's getting more and more competitive. I think with the sort of the worldwide situation the last couple of years, there's been people who've lost lost their jobs, and other people who've decided that maybe that's not, employment's not for them, or a specific job that they were in is not for them, and they want to take up design. And I know David's an example of that. David's picking up the old pencils and brushes, and becoming a designer. So there's more and more people coming into the space. So it's really, really competitive, and we're all trying to find clients, and we're all kind of fighting over clients. So how do you get more clients? And it's more difficult as well if you are maybe more inexperienced. You've not got many connections. So it can be difficult if you're competing against people who have much more experience. They've got larger portfolios, and that doesn't go away really when you're whether you're wanting to kind of do work for agencies or just find work from local businesses or whatever. You still need to have those things. You still need to kind of build up your portfolio. But I want to just kind of talk about the benefits and the potential downsides of getting work from larger creative agencies. And I've said creative agencies, but it could be just large businesses in general. All large businesses will need design work. It's just that with creative agencies, that if you work with them, it's going to be graphic design work that that the communication with them is going to be about, and it's probably going to be easier to be easier to contact a creative agency knowing that they'll potentially have overflow work maybe, or they're looking specifically to subcontract some work out for whatever reason. Whereas if you just go around contacting large business organizations, there's no guarantee that they actually need a graphic designer or they need any graphic design work at that time. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you hit a large business at the right moment. But when you contact a creative agency, then that's what they do day in, day out. So you know that there is design work there. It's just whether there is design work there for you. So what are the, let me just check here. Hey, Lauren. Hi from France. Good to see you. So let's look at some of the benefits then to the agency of, working with a freelancer. So one of the first things for them is it's probably more cost effective because they're not having to pay pension schemes and holiday pay and sick pay, things like that. They will, they'll work out a rate with you, and that's the rate that they pay. They don't have to kind of cover any other overheads, so it can be cost effective for the agency to work with you. And they also have there's more flexibility. Again, that kind of covers like the sort of the what they have to provide to employees as opposed to what they need to give to you. And really they don't have to supply anything to you. They could say, we have a job for you this week, but then you never get another job from them again. Or it could be that they could give you regular work, but that regular work could stop. It's really up to them, and they can stop and start whenever they want. With an employee, they have to pay the employee, so the work is going to be there. And then they also have choice as well. So they can choose, they've got, like we've already said, there are so many designers out there that they can pick and choose from the best ones that, that are speaking to them, asking for work. So they can find some really, really good designers, or they might want to choose people who aren't charging as much as others. There's, cost effective, flexibility and choice, the three of them are intermingled, and, those are good things for agencies. I'm not a large agency. I mean, but technically it's me, plus I now have Fife who's working with me. Fife is working more on sort of copywriting and blog writing side of things. It's not design, but in terms of the designer in the business, it's just me. And I often subcontract work out to other designers, and so I have I can look at it from both sides. I can look at how it was for me to go to agencies and try to get work from them, but I also know what it's like when I have designers who contact me asking if there's any overflow work, and and also me as an agency looking and actively seeking people to do work, and I know what I'm looking for. And you do, I've noticed that if I'm looking to get some work done, I can, I've got a huge array that I can pick from, and whether that be someone who is more specialized in working with the client's industry. So I may have a client who, I don't know, let's say, I don't know why I thought, let's say they make cheese. I may find a designer who has a specialism in working in with food businesses, and so that they're quite good at doing packaging and things like that. So I've got a lot of scope for picking and choosing who I want to work with, and it's the same for all agencies. So what's the benefits to you as the designer? Well, the first thing is that you get work handed to you. You're not having to go out there and find it. They're coming to you and saying, we have work, can you do it? The chances are you'll probably say yes, because that's why you've contacted them in the first place. But one of the hardest parts for us as sole traders, as freelancers, is finding that work. And so you will have someone who's going to contact you and say, hey, we have this project, we would like you to do it. And you would work out the rates and the timescales and things like that with them. But that's the first benefit, is that you don't have to go finding the work or finding the clients. They are going to give that work to you. You'll have minimal client management. client management can take up quite a significant amount of your time, especially if you're working with a lot of clients, even small jobs. It might just be a business card job or an advert. You've still got client management. You still need to invoice them. You still have communications, emails back and forth. Might be revisions to the brief. Client changes their mind. You've got all of that to and fro that you have to deal with. Might even have to chase up to get paid. So having the work from an agency usually means that the agency will probably have someone who's managing that client. They'll have a client manager who will deal with the client, and you will deal with the client manager. And that, for me, I found that as a much easier situation because I'm in control of what I need and what I can give, and the client manager has to deal with the client and pass on any messages and deal with things. And usually a lot of the back and forth is then between the client manager and the client. My time is much more protected in those instances. So I find, that there's much more minimal client management, which, is time, and time is valuable to us. I found that it helps to build my network. The more sort of people that you reach out to, the more businesses that you reach out to, you start to make these connections. Even if you don't get any work from, an agency or a business, the fact that you're trying to build a relationship with them and make connections means that you are opening up more potential opportunities to getting work from either that agency or someone they know. Agencies are all connected. They all know one another, and if you can't get something from one agency, they might actually turn around and say, you know what, we don't have anything right now, but I know that Mr. Jones from Creative Agency X was just saying to me the other day that they've got quite a lot of overflow work on. Do I know anyone that's good that they could, subcontract some work out to? So the more people the more agencies that you start to connect with and start to get to know, and we'll talk about getting to know people later on in this stream. But the more agency you build, you're going to start to build up your network, which is never a bad thing, because there is it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's partially true. If the more connections and networking opportunities you can build, then the more opportunities you will get for design. What we got here? Interaction with other departments. So that's something which I've always really, really enjoyed when I'm working. I enjoyed it when I was an employee working inside a business, but I also enjoy it when I'm sort of freelancing or subcontracted. I've been subcontracted to come in and work, is getting to work with the other departments, whether that's the sales department, marketing, all the ones that would be involved in sort of a design project, the copywriting, photography, if they've got photographers, videographers. You can get to work with so many different departments, and you will pick up their knowledge and skills through working with them. And when you're working on your own, you're really you're on your own, so you're just going to be learning through your own processes. Some people like to use Skillshare or whatever, but you're mostly going to be focused on your key skill or core skill, which is graphic design. And the specialities that are within that, like logo design, etc. But if you work for a creative agency, you're probably going to be one cog in the project, and so you'll be doing the graphic design, but you'll need to speak to the copywriters to get the body copy for something. You'll need to speak to the photographers to get the photographs and the imagery. And you might even be speaking to the brand department, like the strategists. So the strategists will be talking to you about color theory and why they might want some stuff. And you can feel part of a team, but you're not. You're part of the team, but you're not an employee in that company. So you still have you still have the flexibility to do to work with other businesses and other clients alongside the project you're doing with them. I suppose it depends on the size of the project. It might be that that's all you do for that moment in time, but I love that, and I love doing it with whether it's just a longer term relationship with one agency and getting to know all of the people really well inside the different teams, or just a one-off project for another agency and just getting to kind of it's almost a passing hello and whatever, but you can get insights into how these businesses work, and you can actually take that knowledge and apply some of it to your own business practices and the way that you work as well. And a lot of these things you wouldn't probably you're unlikely to just pick up from a book. It's much better, I find, picking up these things from actually working with real people, and hearing about their experiences of how they do things and why they do things. And I've absorbed a lot of that over the years. Some of the things that some agencies do don't work for me, and I'm not keen on the way that they do it. But there's other things that I have taken on board, and it's really helped, streamline my systems, or it's given me a much more powerful sales pitch. You can really pick up on a lot of that stuff. So interacting with other departments is really, really good. Hey Mira, how you doing? Good to see you on the stream. And then working with a team is kind of part of, interacting with other departments. It can be lonely being a freelancer. Some people like that, the solo side of things. There are times where I really enjoy that, but then there are also times where working on your own can make things more difficult if you're stuck inside your own head and you start to question a lot of things. Is this good enough? And you're back and forth and you're just running around in your own head. If you're working with a team, you've got someone that you can pass things on to, get feedback on, and that can help move projects forward much more quickly. So you don't you feel part of something for the time that you're working on that project. You can build a stronger and more varied portfolio, because you'll probably be working on projects that could well be bigger than anything that you would get on your own. Especially if you've not got a huge amount of experience, the chances are you're not going to be able to win very large projects, especially projects that are going to need video work and photography and copywriting. So you're going to get a chance to work on projects that are going to be much more substantial and give you the experience of everything that I've already said, but it's going to be a good feather in your cap for when it comes to trying to get your own projects and trying to win, when you're doing a sales pitch to your own clients, saying, hey, I've worked on projects like this, I've worked with photographers, and it can sound impressive to clients if you're able to kind of talk about, even if it's larger, brand names that the project was for, then that can be really, 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 really useful. I'm not sure how many more I've got in here. Gain business experience. That kind of ties into, I've already sort of covered that by saying, interacting with other departments. You will pick up business practices. You'll kind of probably get to know more of the lead team, so creative directors, brand managers. You'll probably have to interact with those people, and so you'll get to learn what are their wants and asks of you. That paints a picture of the types of things that they do and the level that they are at. Again, you will pick up a lot of experience from that and from those engagements. And I think this is the last one, and the last one is actually gain new clients. I personally work this way as well, is that if someone contacts me and the type of work that they're bringing isn't really the type of work that I want to do, or maybe their budget is not enough, their budget isn't enough for me to take on board and subcontract to someone else, it wouldn't be viable for me, then what I will do is I will always recommend someone to those clients. And so I've got quite a few people on in a directory of designers that I can contact and say, hey, I've had this, this person contact me. They want a certain type of work done. I'm either too busy, I can't do it right now, or it's not the type of work that I want to do. Would you be interested in doing that? And usually that's the people I contact are people that I've already subcontracted work out to and who've done work for me already. So I know that I can trust them. So even though that business owner isn't going to be my client, it's still my reputation. If I send them to another designer and that designer does a poor job for them, I'm the one that sent them there. And so it does kind of fall back on me, or at least I feel that way. So I feel a sense of ownership that, things go well. So that's something that can happen if you get close and do work for a creative agency. You could potentially end up building a client base of clients that aren't ideal for that creative agency. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's just, as creative agencies grow, the budgets that they need projects with larger budgets to cover staffing and all of the costs that go with growing an agency. And it's not really worth their while to take on small projects. And so, I always want to be helpful to people. I don't want to just say, I'm sorry, I don't do that kind of work, and, goodbye. I always like to be able to direct them to someone that can help. And I know as well from speaking to certain people that even when I've recommended them to that person, they've then not been able to take it on, but they've then recommended that client to someone else, and then they've got the job done there. So it starts to build. It gives a good reputation to our industry, that we're helpful. Because there's a lot of bad sides to things, but if we can all do the right thing by people, then it paints a better picture of our industry. One that's helpful, and one that cares, rather than, oh, you don't have enough money, I'm not working with you, where it's a bit standoffish. So that's something that that I found, and the reason I'm saying that as well is because when I was doing work for larger businesses, I gained clients, and one of those small clients, one of those clients that didn't have much work, actually ended up becoming one of my largest clients because their business grew, and that's what happens. And I know that that's happened as well. I've passed work on to someone, and it was a very small job. I didn't have the time to do it. And I passed it on, and I said to them, I said, look, take this, if you want to take this on, it's great. You don't have to, if they've got other work, and this is what I want to clarify as well, is I'll usually say, look, if they come back to you a second time, you don't have to send them back to me because they came to me first. If I send a client to you, then they become your client. And I know fairly recently that I sent a client, they were needing I think it was just a brochure they needed updating, and I couldn't take it on, and I passed it on. And since then, they've rebranded, they're doing website work, and all that work is going to the designer that I recommended them to, which is great. It's really good. It's always good to help other people get work. It makes me feel good that it's benefiting others. So that's a good thing too. That's a good thing to get. David's saying the point about passing work to another designer makes sense. At that point, you become an unwitting recruitment consultant. Yeah, you do. And I know as well that some people, it's not the way I work. I just pass them on. I just say, here's designer A, does good work. I recommend them. I know that they can help you out, and that's it. But I know that there are some other designers that when they pass it on to someone else, they will maybe ask for a referral fee or a percentage of whatever the project is. It's not how I work, and if that happens and you get money, for a referral and referring, great, but it's not for me. That's not how I work. But I know that other people do, I know that they'll take money for referring, and like say whether it's a fixed fee or a percentage of whatever. So let's say they send it on, and the project ends up being $500, and they say, I've got this person, they want to do some work, if I pass it on to you and you win the work, if you give me 10%, then they would make $50 for just referring them on. And other designers might be happy at that deal, because they're getting $450 of work that they wouldn't have got normally because that client didn't go to them, so they're getting it passed on. So I don't see anything. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not how I work. I just pass the whole thing on, and that way works better for me. But yeah, you do become a bit like a recruitment consultant, David. So there's obviously going to be downsides as well, and you need to be aware of that. I've read a lot of blogs, and I've read a lot, seen a lot of videos about, working with other, how to put yourself out there and the benefits of it. But they then stop there and they don't talk about the negatives. And I'm getting a bit of a reputation for, talking about the negatives, but I think we have to. I think you need to be prepared for what these are. And you can often turn a negative into a positive just by how you approach it. But I think being, forewarned is forearmed. If you know the potential downsides of things, then you're prepared for it, and it doesn't come as a shock. So I'm always one for being upfront on what the negatives can be. So when it comes to the agency and them hiring someone who isn't an employee, is reliability. They're going to need someone that, if they're like, okay, we can give you work, but, if we contact you and say, right, okay, we've got this project, needs to be done in this time, and we need you to start tomorrow, you need to be available to start that work. You also need to be, you need to be contactable. So if they need to contact you during a project, you need to make sure that you're available. So if you end up working for a creative agency that's on the different side of the planet from you, there's a chance that you're going to get phone calls at 3 a.m. asking about projects. Is that something that you're willing to do? Because you need to be aware of that if you're working for agencies that are not local to you. So they need to make sure that the person that they're supplying work to is going to be reliable for them. Quality as well. So I think we all know that people can have the wool pulled over their eyes with quality, with people showing portfolios of work that isn't their work, and then they get given a project, and then the work that they produce is very much not the same quality as the portfolio of work that they've shown. So I mean, that's really up to the there's a certain amount of onus on the creative agency to do their homework and make sure that that they find out that the person is can do what they say they can do and have shown. But that's another downside for the agencies. There's a few more downsides for the designers. So it's not that big a box, but it's slightly bigger than the other one. So one of the first things is short notice and really tight deadlines. If you work for an agency, they can and often do call upon freelancers when they're desperate and they need something done really, really quick. If you're fine at working under pressure and you can turn stuff around quickly and with quality that they're looking for, then you will probably be in high demand from agencies. What I found, and I'll name no names on it, but I know of at least one designer that was subcontracting his services out to quite a few creative agencies, and let's just say he was being used and abused, as far as I was concerned, by these agencies, with really sort of, in my eyes, unrealistic deadlines for things, especially things like logo design. Contact at 9 a.m. We need a logo done by the end of today. Things like that. So I know that you can turn. I know that logos can be turned around in a day, but you've probably all heard me talk about, that I'm very much based on, strategic design. So I do a lot of brand strategy before I can even think about what the logo is going to be like. So for me, having to create a logo from scratch with, very little information other than maybe the business name and their industry type, even if that agency gave me a big bundle of brand strategy stuff, it's going to take me quite some time to go through all of that in order to understand it well enough to then start the logo design process. So, and also he wasn't charging them very much. So we've all seen that, the pie chart, the Venn diagram with the 3 circles of good, fast, and cheap. And then you've got that bit in the middle where the 3 things intersect, and that should never be available. You should never have good, fast, and cheap. You can have good and fast, but it won't be cheap. So things like that. But what was happening here was that this designer was good, he was producing the work fast, and he wasn't charging enough, so he was cheap. So you could imagine that for a creative agency, being able to find a designer that was able to do all of that and wasn't charging them much, they were all over it, and it's more than one agency. Now, I'm happy to say that I got speaking to this designer, and he started giving him work to do, and we started working, we're working on logos and things together. And, I'm really happy to say that he doesn't work for at least one of those agencies. He doesn't do any work for them anymore because he could see that he was being used. He's now charging a lot more for his services, and he's just a lot more confident. So just basically, and that's just from us sort of working together on projects, and I suppose, unofficially mentoring him and just giving him my experiences, and that's really helped him to level up his game. So you need to be aware of that if you do work for a creative agency, they can be pretty brutal on notice and deadlines. Now, on the benefits side, I talked about minimal client management. You're not having to deal with invoicing and things like that. You're still going to have to invoice the creative agency, and you can, and they are still they're a client like other clients, and so you want to make sure that when you start working with them, that you get an agreement in place that they're going to pay you on time. You don't want to be doing lots of work for them and then suddenly be like months behind, and you're doing work on new projects that you've not been paid for previous projects. You really want to make sure that gets written down, and you have a tight sort of agreement or contract in place with regards to payment. I know that here in the UK, I don't know if there's services like it elsewhere. I'm sure there is. But in the UK, I use a service called Go Cardless. And basically what that is for any new clients, I set up a mandate, so a direct debit that means, and we set an amount, so, it's like a maximum amount. But that means that, when payment is due, when I raise an invoice, it automatically takes the payment for that, and the client has to sign and agree to that commitment before I will take them on as a client. Not everyone's going to agree to that, and you don't have to have that in place, but you want to make sure that they are going to pay you on time, because you don't want to end up essentially feeling like you're working for nothing. And then we've already talked about fees, so they'll one of the tricks, I suppose, is that they know that there are lots of people who are desperate for work and projects, and so they can turn around and say, how much you're going to charge us for this, and then if you say let's say, I don't know, let's say $250, and they're like, oh, no, we've only got $100 for this project, which, you know, it's probably a lie, because they have to make a profit. So they don't only have $100 for it. They have whatever the client's budget is, but they're willing what they want to make profit wise, and then what they're willing to pay you. So you need to kind of stick to your guns a bit, or it depends if you want to build up your portfolio or whatever, and you're willing to, you know, do work for a lot less than you normally would. That's your decision. But again, you just need to be aware that, you know, they will probably try to, you know, not everyone, because I don't do that, but it can happen. So that's why I've said potential downsides, not downsides. I've put potential, because it depends on who the agencies are and how they work. And, you know, if you say, no, you know, it's 200 for me to do that, they may throw in the old, well, you know, there's a lot of other designers out there who would happily do this for 100, and they start to throw those things at you. All I would say is, at that point, walk away. Don't work for a company like that. Don't outsource your services to a company that's going to use you like that. It's just not right. So, you know, but again, it's your decision. But for me, that's not right. It really isn't. I'm very upfront with the people that I subcontract work to. I will tell them exactly how much I am charging the client. And I will tell them, you know, usually what I'll say is to them is, let's say it's logo design. Okay, I've got this logo design. I'll do all the brand strategy side of it. And then I will liaise with you, and I'll get, you know, and then you can design the logo or whatever it is, whatever the project is. And I will ask them how much is that going to cost? And I'll, you know, let them tell me, and then I will tell, you know, if it's within, if I'm going to make profit on it, then I will say to them, okay, well, just to let you know, this is how much I'm charging, you know, and if you're happy with the price that you've given me, then let's go and do it. And pretty much anyone that I've worked with, I'll catch up with the chat in a second. Pretty much anyone I've worked with has been fine with that, you know. And sometimes the profit that I will make is a lot more than what they're, you know, asking me. And there's been many a time where someone has said to me, "Oh, I'll do it for this amount," and I'll say to them, "That's not enough." And I will say, "I will pay you this amount," which is higher than what they have said, because the reason that our industry is, you know, we've got places like Fiverr and stuff, is because everyone's undercutting themselves, and by undercutting one another, it just means that everyone's like going down by $1 a time, and we end up with this really low floor of pricing. If we all helped one another to actually get paid what we're worth, then it means that that floor of the lowest price is actually going to be higher. So if we can all support one another, then, you know, it's going to be beneficial to the industry. So yeah, just be aware of low fees. Let me check the chat, because I've seen a few things going here now. So Lee's, so we'll be jumping back a few things from what I've said. So Lee's is saying, I think a referral fee can make sense when you need to go out of your way to seek out a designer that is a perfect fit for the job. Yeah, you know, if you're going to take the time to help this client and actually, you know, go and find someone, then great. I don't really do that, probably because I know quite a few designers, and I know, you know, they can handle a lot of different projects. But yeah, if you don't know a lot of designers, but you still want to help that client, then yeah, you know, you could use the referral fee to cover the time that you're using. David saying, recruitment consultancy is hilarious. That was my first office job after university. I'll bore it with you on Discord later. I actually know a friend, Matt, who's a brand identity designer, and his niche market is recruitment. And he's always telling me about how bad the recruitment industry is. Just they need a shake up, and they need to change their working practices and stuff. But he loves, he knows the space really well, and I think he gets really, really job satisfaction from working in that industry. So yeah, I know a little bit about recruitment. May saying, in these cases, you have all the communication with the client, or does the agency manage the conversation? It depends, but I would say that I have conversations with the client where I feel I need to kind of just, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of communication with them, but I would like them to know who's working on the project, and I just want to speak to them because, especially if it's logo stuff, you can get all the information about the client's business and their brand, on spreadsheets and PDFs. But there is something about getting to actually speak to that client that you can ask your own questions and read between the lines. But there may be instances where if you're working with an agency, they won't let you speak to the client. And it may be because they haven't told the client that they're subcontracting, and that the client thinks that it's all in-house. And so they don't want the client seeing or knowing that they're actually hiring a freelancer outside of that business to do the work. Again, that's fine. That's not, a shady practice. It's just, if the work that's getting done is good and of high quality and the client is happy, then it shouldn't really matter. But if the client thinks that if they're working with agency X, and that's, they've read their website and, they're like, oh yeah, I love what you do and all the rest of it. But then they find out that actually, well, it isn't even somebody in agency X that's doing the work. It's some freelancer that they've hired. There could be potential issues there. So in some cases, they won't let you speak to the client, and you'll just basically have to deal with the design brief, and you will probably be discussing it with a creative director in the agency. You will pass on your drafts and mock-ups or whatever to the creative director. They will then present them to the client for feedback. They will get the feedback, and then they will come back to you with the feedback. So you probably won't ever, in some instances, speak to the client. David says, speaking as an amateur, it sounds like if you promote yourself as quick, fast and cheap, you're going to need a hell of a lot of clients to break even. Yeah, you will. Plus you'll probably burn out because you're going to have to be doing so much work. And that's pretty much how and a lot of us start that way, because we're trying to build up portfolios and we're trying to get reputations and we're trying to, make people aware of us. And I was like that. I used to do so much work, so many projects each month. And honestly, what would kill me a lot of the time wasn't the design work. It was the managing of the clients. It was like all the emails and the phone calls and the meetings. So much of that time, where you could be designing is used by that. So the less you charge, the more projects you need to do to pay your bills, which means more clients, which means, more emails, more phone calls. And that's one of the reasonings that I say to people is you need to charge more. And it is really scary to charge more. But, if you're charging $100 for a logo, and let's say your monthly bills, right? This is oversimplifying it, but let's say your monthly bills were $1,000. Then you need to do 10 logo designs to pay your bills. Or you could charge, let's just say, even if you charge $250, you only need to work with 4 clients. If you charge $500, you'll need to work with 2 clients. If you charge $1,000, you'll need to work with 1 client. So, going from 100 to 1,000 is a massive leap and a scary leap for people. It's so frightening to move to that because you think, oh, I'm only charging this, and what if I don't get any clients who pay that, who's willing to pay that? All I will say is that there are clients out there who are willing to pay that, but you will have to have, some background that you can do good work, but all of a sudden you're going from 10 clients who, let's say each of them emails you once a day. Some may email you more than that. Some are going to call you. You're going to have meetings. So, multiply that by 10. So you have to deal with that. You've got one client. And the thing is as well, with when you charge more, the clients tend to trust you more. And they let you get on with the job more. And they're not emailing you and they're not telephoning you to say, can you change this? Can I see this? Can you do this? So it actually gets less and less. So it is tricky early on. You do tend to have a lot of clients and you are doing a lot of projects. But like I say, if you get a lot of projects from an agency, you're going to get emails from the agency. So let's say you're doing a lot of work for the same agency, that is. You'll get emails from the agency about those projects, but it's going to be from the same, so it'll be either from the same person or a couple of people, and you'll start to build up a relationship with them, and you'll know what they want and what's needed. But when you're working with new clients all the time, and you're trying to get to know their personality and understand them and work your way around them, that's learning all the time. Now that's beneficial. That's in the long term. Learning from those experiences are really beneficial for when it comes to just pitching ideas and stuff like that. You learn about people and how to deal with them. But yeah, it's it can be pretty stressful. And one of the biggest things is designers getting burned out and just not able to do the work. And not even just not able to do the work, but mentally destroying themselves. And I've seen it many a time. I've not quite got to that depth, but I've been burned out many a time and just not been able to face it and kind of needed to take a break. So it can be tricky. Where are we? Let's see. I'm skipping stuff that may not kind of add here. Mason, I've seen ads looking for graphic designers that say, looking for a designer, I'll pay with pizzas and beer. Could be enticing to some people. It depends on what the project is. If it's small like business card jobs, I may well be tempted to do it for pizza and beer. I've actually got to get back to a client today who has asked me to do a project, and I'm actually going to, see if I can strike a deal with them rather than just paying me, in money for it. Then the project that they're asking me to do is an event, and so I'll maybe kind of strike something up with them. So I'm always good for bartering. It's not always about money. I do work for trading services. If the person I'm doing work for can do something for me, then I'm happy to trade services rather than trade money if it's beneficial to me as a either personally or as a business owner. Lee's saying, I wish my portfolio was built with quick jobs, but I agree fast cheap work is a recipe for burnout. Henry says, charging more weeds out the price buyers too. Yeah, so price buyers, I call them tire kickers. Just, they're just, they don't to me, they don't value design as a service. And there is a space for, like, let's call it quick and dirty, quick and nasty design that's like throwaway design. Somebody just needs a flyer for something really quickly and they don't want to spend a lot of money on it because they know they're not going to get much traction with it. And some people flourish on that work, but that's really not the type of work I want. And so people, I'll happily let other people work on that. It's not what I want to do. But yeah, Henry's right. As your pricing moves up, you start to, you'll start to see a change in the type of clients that you work with, especially as you start to work with larger businesses who have an understanding of how important good design is in terms of marketing and selling their services and products. they have a greater respect for you as a designer, as opposed to sort of people who don't want to spend much money at all. They don't get the power of design and what good design can do. They just, you know, they just don't value it at all. And then David's just talking about pizza. So yeah, let's move on to the next bit here. Just watching the time, I've gone on again. So you're going to be up against lots of competition. I mentioned this at the start. There's lots of designers who are looking for work, and so, you know, they're all going to be reaching out to these agencies, trying to get freelance work or subcontracted work. On the benefits side, I talked about building a stronger and more varied portfolio. But on the potential downside of that is that you may be prohibited or stopped from sharing any work that you do for that agency. That's just common, you know, is that, you know, you're being paid for work, but you cannot use it in your portfolio because the work has been done for that agency. It's like I said, you know, the client is paying that agency and has found that agency to do the work. And so if suddenly they see, wait a minute, why is this person over here saying that they designed my logo? That's not who designed my logo. I paid creative agency X to do my logo. Why is that there? So you'll probably find that for a lot of agency work, you're not allowed to share the work. And that can be really tricky if, you know, because we need a portfolio in order to attract our own clients. So that's why it's good to try to have a mix. Don't rely entirely on agency work. You want to try to, you know, have your own client work as well if you can, because that work you'll be able to show. Some agencies allow you to show the work. So in instances where you probably can is if, you know, the agency's subcontracting to you and they've, you know, it's just really important that the client thinks that it's been done in-house by that agency. So you won't be able to do that. And in that instance, you know, this goes back to the low fees side of things. Because you can only get new work by showing work that you've done, then if the agency is stopping you from showing that work, you really need to kind of get some sort of compensation for not being able to show that work. And so for me, that would mean charging a premium, you know, and so you might have two prices. You might say, okay, it's $1,000 if if I do the work and I can show the work. If I can't show the work, then it's going to be $2,000 because you're stopping me from finding new work, and give them the choice. But as I say, getting work from creative agencies is competitive, and they could just turn around and say, yeah, well, we're not paying that. We'll find someone else who'll do it for $1,000 who's happy with not showing the work. So, you know, you need to be aware of that as well. That was the last one on that one actually. So that's kind of from my own experience, some of the benefits and some of the potential downsides to that. And then I just wanted to kind of go through, well, what's the things, that's all well and good, but what things can I be doing to try to, get on the radar or whatever of agencies. So obviously you can go directly to them, just email, phone, turn up at their studio, and ask if they have any, if they do subcontract to freelancers. That's what you do. But you, like anything, trying to get any client, you are going to need to have portfolios and stuff in place. So one of the first things is, you need to create self-promotion materials, and they shouldn't be just online. You should have something. I know we're a digital age. It's 2022, but speaking for myself, I love it when I get sent something from a designer that is like physical material, paper, whatever, in the post, because to me it it kind of just shows a bit more effort. We can all draft an email, attach a PDF and ping it off to an agency. We could all do that. But I'm also very, very busy. And so if anyone sends me, if I just get random emails coming in, looking for freelance work, chances are I'm not going to even look at it because I'm busy with my own stuff. And it's going to be rare that you're going to hit me at the point where I'm ready to kind of give work out. However, if you send me something in the post, because I don't get much stuff in the post these days, if you send me something which looks pretty good and you've thought about it and it's quite creative, it's going to catch my attention. I will guarantee you that. It's going to catch my attention. Now, I may not have work for you at that point, but you're definitely going to stick in my mind. And I don't know if I've told this on a live stream before, but someone who I subcontract work out to is a guy called Stuart. And back in, I was in one of my old offices, so it must be sort of 2014 maybe, around about that time. And I received a package in the post. I think it was in a red envelope, which made it stand out in itself. And I kind of opened up, and it was lots of different bits and bobs. There was like he'd made his CV. Of his skills and stuff, but he turned it into a jigsaw. So I had to kind of piece it all together to be able to read the CV. He'd made a really cool handmade business card. And he was just sort of saying, hey, my name's Stuart, I'm a graphic designer. I'd love to put myself forward for any projects that you're outsourcing. I'm here. And I loved it. I loved what he'd done. It was so creative. It was so different. And I contacted him and said, hey, Stuart, I love what you sent me. Unfortunately, I don't have any work right now that I can outsource to you. But I just wanted to let you know that I, loved what you did. And, what to do is, I can't remember what time scale I gave him, but let's say it was 6 months or something. I said, why don't you, reach out again in 6 months' time? Things may have changed and, I might have something. And so, I got back to my work. And then 6 months later, I get another package in the post, and I'd forgotten all about Stuart. I'd genuinely forgotten all about him. I still had his card and things stored away in the shelf, but again, so busy, just forgot all about him. And I got this letter, and it was a red envelope again, and I opened it up, and it was a brochure. It was a landscape brochure, and the brochure was essentially projects that Stuart had worked on in the 6 months since he'd spoken to me. And it was, just saying, here's work I've done in the past 6 months. But what caught my attention was on the cover, in big letters, it just said, you may not remember me. And I opened it up, and on the inside it said, my name is Stuart. I sent you some stuff 6 months ago. We had a chat, and you asked me to get back in touch in 6 months. It was just so clever the way he did that. He didn't just come back to me in 6 months saying, it's been 6 months, have you got any work yet? He did it in such a creative way. I mean, I've still got that brochure. I tried to find it for the live stream and I couldn't find it. It's here somewhere. But it's just that wording on the front that just said, you may not remember me. What that said to me was Stuart knew that I was a busy guy, and I'm not going to be thinking about him for 6 months and then expect him to call. So the fact that he appreciated how busy my day was, and he took the step to sort of get back in touch and get things rolling again. And I actually didn't have any work for him at that point, but I created work for him. I got in touch with him and I said, I love what you've done. I love your enthusiasm. Why don't you... He wasn't based in the same city as I am. But I said, why don't you come through to Dundee and we'll sit down, we'll have a chat, and we'll try to work something out. And we did. And, he actually started working for me sort of 2 days a week. But then he got the opportunity to go and get a full-time job. And I didn't have enough to give him a full-time job. And I said, you would be crazy You'd be crazy to turn down a full-time job. It was in a good place. But, he still does bits and bobs for me when he can. But that's really just, it's a bit of a long way to go around, if you're going to contact creative agencies, then do it in a way that's different. Don't just be lazy about it, because it'll either not even get read or opened, or it'll just get put in the bin. So if you're going to do it, take the time to do something creative. Now Stuart had only just graduated from university. He didn't have a lot of years of experience as a designer. But the fact that he went that extra mile meant that I was willing to give him a chance to work with me and do some work. And, I think anyone can do that. You don't have to have an amazingly huge portfolio. You can have one or two good enough pieces. But if you can show me that you're enthusiastic, that you really want to work with me, that that you've got a drive and you love design and it's what you want to do, that will go a long way. And you don't always have to have like a million projects in your portfolio in order to impress me. You really don't. And I know the same can be said for other business owners, creative agency owners. Be active on LinkedIn, and there's probably going to be a few groans at that. LinkedIn, boring, dull, but you need to be active on LinkedIn, because that's where all the creative directors are. That's where all the businesses are that, are potentially going to be hiring you. And so, you need to go on, you need to create a LinkedIn account, and you need to start posting on LinkedIn. Just, post stuff about, if you've learned anything new in the design industry, or you find a good article that would be useful to business owners. If you find something, about brand or branding that would be useful to business owners to read, just go on LinkedIn and share that stuff. And not only share it, but give your opinion on it. I find this article on brand here, I think it's a great idea, or I don't agree with it. You've got to have an opinion. And just be on LinkedIn and start posting stuff, because if you're looking to get work, then and you apply to an agency, that agency owner is going to start looking for you online. And you want them to find you. You want them to find that you're posting useful stuff and helpful stuff. You can post your work. Post your work on LinkedIn. Talk about the goal of the project. Don't post stuff on LinkedIn as a, hey, look at this, isn't this cool? That won't get you anywhere. You need to post on LinkedIn and have some sort of learning point from it. So you could post something, even if it was a business card. Say, here's a business card I've done for this company, and here's why I've chosen this, this specific font, because it gives off a feeling of, gives a more corporate look, a more professional feel, and I think it works really well. You're starting to educate people who don't know about typography and don't know that typography has different personalities. But by doing that, you will start to get people noticing you, and they may start, you may start to see that people start to follow you on LinkedIn because they're liking what you post. And that's how you will start to build up a network on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is vastly undervalued by designers, because they're all too busy wanting to be on, Behance and Dribble and stuff. And those are valuable too. But LinkedIn is a business platform, and all I'll say is there's not a huge amount of designers on there. So, you've got a good chance. I know that Lee's joined very recently, created an account. I don't think he's started posting yet, but that's the first step, is just get on there, create an account, and even just have a nosy around, just kind of lurk in the background, search out other designers. What are they posting? Can you post better things, or can you post things in a similar vein to them, but with your own take on it? You don't want to be copying what other people are posting. But LinkedIn, to me, is something that you need to be on. If you're a designer, but you're also a business. You're trying to make money, and so I think you should be on a business platform, not just a designer's platform like Behance and whatever the Adobe one, no, it is Adobe Behance, isn't it? But all the other ones that are there. Don't just contact the big agencies, because to be honest, the bigger agencies probably have enough staff to cover everything. You want to be contacting the smaller agency, and that's what I would class myself as. I call myself an agency or a studio. It is technically just me, but I do subcontract and stuff, and I am honest with a lot of my clients, or not honest, but I'm open with my clients. Say, look, if you work with me, then I do subcontract, but I subcontract to designers I trust, and I will be overseeing the work. I'll be creative directing. If I'm not doing the work myself, I'm creative directing it. It doesn't just get left, to give the client confidence that I am still involved in the process. Contacting people like me or agencies that are much smaller, there's more chance that they're going to need people like you to take on overflow work. As I say, the bigger agencies have got more employees and are probably more organized as well, and they can, they've got enough to cover. But agencies like mine, I have, it doesn't take me long to get to capacity on what I can do and the people around me can do. So if a client, if I get a run of clients coming at me saying I need this, I need that, then the chances are I'm probably going to need to outsource. I've not had to do that so much recently because I've been working on larger brand strategy projects, and I've just basically said to clients I can't start any new projects for X amount of time. Some are willing to wait. Others need projects done more quickly, and then that's when I would just recommend and pass on the work. So don't think that it's just big agencies that you should go for. It is the smaller agencies, definitely, and that's where LinkedIn's good, because you can go on LinkedIn and you can kind of look at the company pages for agencies, and it will usually tell you how many employees they have. So if it's under 10, if it's or under 5, then there's a good chance that they're going to need help at some point. Look at who's advertising for graphic design positions. They're obviously looking for employees, but that means that they've probably got a lot of work on right now, because they're like, we need another graphic designer. We've got too much work on. But if you can get in there whilst they're still looking, they probably have work on at that point that they need help with. So just keep an eye out for companies that are advertising for graphic design positions, and you could contact that company and say, hey, I'm just interested to see if you've got any work that you're looking to outsource just now. You don't have to mention that you've seen that they're looking for graphic design positions. You just want to make it, look like you're contacting them because you're interested in working for them, and you'll just, there's more chance that you're going to hit those people at the right time, because they're probably going, we need more designers. We can't cope with all the work that we've got, and you may get a piece of work from them at that point. So that's a good tip to keep an eye out for those. Join some online business groups / memberships, and kind of seek out the creative agencies that are in there. There's not creative, not all business groups and memberships have creative agencies in them, but it is, some of them do, and you just start to get to know the people in there. Again, it's just about networking. Staying in isolation behind your computer screen and waiting on, an email coming in, or, because someone's found your website or they've found your portfolio, the chances of someone just stumbling upon it and giving you work is slim. You need to be active. You need to be networking. So look at, go onto Facebook, go onto LinkedIn, look at what groups are there. And to be honest, the more businessy the groups are, so let's take creative agencies out of it. If you just go into business groups as a designer, you're gonna have skills there that they don't have, and you can take part in conversations. You could start conversations, and you could quickly become the expert in the room as far as design is concerned. And if you're in that, and there's no other designers in there, and you're building relationships, when these businesses need design work, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to the person that they see in their business group on LinkedIn, every day or every couple of days, who's helping out, who's taking part in conversations, who's giving good advice in there. That's what's going to work. And again, LinkedIn is good for that, but there's other memberships and stuff out there that work as well. I mean, I do a lot of work for a creative agency that specializes in working with accountants, and I met the owner of that creative agency through a business group, and she just basically noticed that I was being really helpful with posts and helping people out and not charging for stuff. It's just, if you can be helpful in small areas, you don't have to charge for everything. You can just be nice and be helpful. And I would help people out, if they needed something fixed on a business card or something. I'd say, look, that's a 2-minute job. I'll do that for you. Don't worry about it. Because we're all in the same, group, and it's like, let's look out for one another. And I would see other business types. I would see people who were like coaches or whatever, offering and giving, mortgage advisors, just giving free advice to say, hey, I can answer that, and giving advice, and it's nice to do that. And what happened was, I caught the attention of this creative agency owner, and she reached out to me, and I ended up redoing the branding for their agency, and now I do a lot of brand work for their clients. They have graphic designers in the business, but they're not brand identity designers. And so the graphic designers will handle things like websites, brochures, social media graphics and things. But when a client comes to them and they need brand identity work, usually it's rebranding, then they contact me, and I'm subcontracted, but they now treat me like part of the team. I'm on their website as one of their team members, but I'm not an employee of that agency. I am my own business, and their clients know that. We don't make a big thing of it, and I don't talk about it really, but initially what we did was we were white labeling it. So just in case you don't know the term white label, is when a company will subcontract to another designer, but the designer pretends that they are part of that company. So you're white labeling it. So you're just doing the work, you get paid, but it was that company that did the work. So we started off on that approach where I would basically, as far as the client was concerned, I worked for that company. But we started to hit a few snags because, as May mentioned earlier on about speaking to clients, for me it was, especially with brand work, it was super important that I got to speak to the client. And so we would have sort of 1-hour brand meetings and stuff where I would ask them questions. And it got difficult for me to talk about my experience, because I could only talk about it by mentioning clients that I'd worked for. And these clients were not accountants. And like I say, this agency only works with accountants. And so it became difficult, and I wasn't able to do my job in the best way possible. And, we then just decided, like, let's just, you're the expert. We're, as far as the client's concerned, they're getting an expert in identity design to work on their identity. And they could go and look at the stuff that I do, and see that I've got a YouTube channel, and I've, been around the design industry for a long time and have that experience. So there's value to that for them. And that came about through meeting in a business group. I didn't know them. I wasn't actively looking for them. They just saw that I was taking part, being useful, posting in the group, and they were like, yeah, we like the cut of his jib. Let's reach out and see if they'd be interested in working with us. So that kind of lends on to Google yourself. So you kind of want to, one of the first things that someone's going to do if you're like, hey, I want to do some work for you, is that person, aka me, may well Google your name. So you want to Google yourself just to see what information comes up. I'm not saying that if you Google yourself, there's going to be, you're going to be in the headlines for something bad, but you just want to see what comes up. It might be something as simple as that your website comes up, but you haven't set a meta description for it. So it doesn't have any, there's no text there, or maybe there's a spelling mistake. By Googling yourself, you can see all the different things that come up, and you will be able to go and fix them, so that when someone like me goes and Googles and the results come up, then everything is the best, in the best place that it could be. There's no typos. You've got, if if you share a website, you've got like it'll share a specific graphic. If you've not set a logo or a specific image, then what will happen is it'll just pull a random image from the web page and show that instead. And sometimes it might not be the best thing that it's showing and looks a bit weird. So it's things like that. So make sure that you Google yourself so that you're giving a good first impression on a Google search. Let me just quickly check over here to the questions. So Free Spirit saying it's been weeks without a job or a new project. It's so confusing for me as a new graphic designer. I honestly, I feel for you. It can be really, really tough out there. All I would say is don't, maybe try to join some design groups and, start to have conversations, ask in design groups if anyone wants to be part of an accountability group, or even just form a, not even an accountability group, but, is anyone interested in forming a little group where we can all get together once a week and just have a chat and see what we're all up to? Those things, as much as building networks with business people is important, it's also really important that you build networks with other designers, because, other designers can potentially be your best source of referred work, or even subcontracted work. I'm talking about creative agencies here and larger businesses, but we all, you're finding it difficult right now to find some work, but there will be other people out there who are like very busy and are needing someone to take on work. I know that you're a new designer, and you may not be very experienced in certain areas, but there's usually certain tasks that, people will happily give to someone else so that they don't have to do it and they can get on with something else. So I would suggest, you're maybe already doing this, or maybe already telling you stuff that you already know, but, starting to, use the time where you aren't busy, use that time productively to start to build up good relations with other designers, get to know them, get to know what they're up to, and they'll then maybe introduce you to people who are in their circle of designers, and you just never know where these things lead. You just have to use that time productively. I do know how tough it is, and I'm sorry that you're not finding any work just now. It is a tough industry to be in. But hopefully something will come along soon. Another option is to contact places like charitable organizations or non-profit organizations, people that rely on donations in order to deliver their service. They're always appreciative of designers who reach out to them to do work for them, for no fee, obviously. Because if you're not doing any work right now, you may as well be using your time in a productive manner to help at least build up your portfolio. And also it gives you experience of working with clients, rather than saying, well, I've not got any work on right now, I'll do a logo design challenge. Okay, you're maybe helping to improve your design skills, but what you're not improving is your skill at communicating with real people and clients. And for me, that's a skill that is equally as important as improving your design skills, maybe more so, because you need to be able to pitch and sell your designs to clients, to make sure that they feel that they're confident that it's going to do the job that you're saying that it's going to do, because that's what we are. We're problem solvers. We're not creating pieces of art to hang in a museum. we're creating, we're solving design problems, and you need to be able to convey that you understand the problem and also convey that you've been able to solve that. And sitting doing a logo design challenge where there's no client involved isn't really going to help you level up in those areas. So that's something that I would look at. I've got an extra L in here. So follow up again, and follow up some more. Like I mentioned with Stuart earlier on, where I said to him, "Oh, contact me in 6 months. I'm really busy just now." He did follow up. Now he only had to follow up again because his follow up again was very, very good, and it really caught my attention. But you do need to follow up some more. Don't kind of be knocking on the door every single day, pester. But people in creative agencies are very busy. They're busy with their own days and their own clients, and all of the stuff that you're potentially dealing with when you're working with clients. They're doing that as well, but probably times 100. And they're also dealing with employees and dealing with other departments. So it's busy, and if you contact them once, it's probably not enough. They may see it, they may not see it, but you need to just keep contacting them. Like I say, not pestering them like every single day, but just keep reaching out, and it shows that you're really keen to work with them. It shows that you're interested, and when each time you reach out, you can do what Stuart did with me. Show them that that you are working on stuff, even if it is personal projects. When you reach out, say, "Hey, I'm just reaching out again to see if you've got any, if you're going to be subcontracting any work. If you're interested, here's some of the projects that I've been working on since I last, contacted you." And if you might catch them at a moment where they're having a bit of downtime, and they take the time to look through your work. So follow up again, and follow up some more. Twice often isn't enough. You do need to keep going, and I think that's the end of that one. Let's see. Free Spirit, no worries. Any tips that I can give, then I would definitely want to help. I don't know if you're. I don't recognize Free Spirit as a Discord name. I don't know if you've joined our Discord yet, but or did you? My apologies if you have. I've like I say, just what I'm talking about here. I've been so busy, and I've felt a bit guilty because I've not been in the Discord too much. It's been a bit. No, it's not. It's the wrong one. Not that one. What do I want? I want this one. It's been a bit. Oh, looks like someone new has joined. So Enville has joined the Discord. But yeah, if you go, have you joined? I can't see Free Spirit there. So So if you want, if you go to that web address there, discord.gg/RYB, it will take you to the web browser version of Discord, and you can join. It can be a bit much to take in when you first join, because we've got lots of channels and things, but everybody's great, and you'll get a good welcome. And if you've got any questions, please ask questions. That's why I've created that. I've created the Discord to be a safe space for designers, and it isn't necessarily a bad place for you to hang out and spend some time, and you can ask questions, you can ask for advice, and we've got people in there from all different all different levels. People who are just starting out, people who've a couple of years, people like me who are been doing it 100 years, and everyone in between. So you're going to get all sorts of good advice from people. So please jump on board and take part in there. We've got lots of different channels and stuff that you can look into. Samash is saying, yes, to solve a problem, we need to identify it first. First, we are problem identifiers. We are. That's what we're doing. We're problem solvers, and that's why if a client comes to me and says, I need a new logo. Okay, Why do you think you need a new logo? Oh, I'm not getting enough customers. Okay, right, okay. Your logo's not really going to get you new customers though, is it? And then we start to look at other things and start to ask questions, and we need to identify what the real problem is. And you're like, actually, your logo's not the problem. Your logo's actually okay. What is a problem is that you've got no consistency throughout your brand. Your messaging is all over the place. You're using every time you do a piece of marketing, you're using a different style, all of that stuff. So we can help them identify the problem, and then we help explain what the best solution is for them. And we take them on that journey rather than they come to you and say, I need a new logo. You go, okay, let's design you a new logo. You're not grasping what the problem is, and you're potentially creating more problems by not looking at what the real problem is. So Samashi is absolutely spot on there with that. We are problem solvers. So miraculously, this has only been a 90-minute live stream, not one of the epic ones that can happen. Again, I hope you found some of the information useful today. It is mostly from my own experiences. It's not from a book. It's just how I've experienced things, and I'm now sort of I'm also on the other side. I'm now subcontracting work out, and I get people contacting me, asking for if I have any work. And that's not, by the way, this is not an invitation to suddenly bombard me asking if I'm subcontracting work. I have enough designers on my books to cope with any subcontracted stuff. So I am not actually taking on any people right now. But if you think you've got something which is cool and I've never seen before, or you've got an interesting way of getting my attention, then you can pop something in the post and see if might grab my attention. And when I say that, nothing untoward, please. Something around design. But I'm not. This wasn't talking about this today wasn't about me sort of saying, hey, use me as a test and send me your CVs and send me your portfolios. I'm not really looking to take on any other people right now as designers, but I'm more than happy to have discussions and stuff inside the Discord. If you're thinking about contacting an agency and you've got some questions about what you think you should do, come into the Discord and ask away in the Discord, and I and others will give you some feedback and give you some thoughts. You can maybe show what it is that you want to send, and we'll give you some feedback on it. I'm more than happy to do that. That's why I'm here. I just want to help everybody to get better and help everybody to get more work. That's the goal at the end of the day. Get everybody to pay their bills and be happier and enjoy design. Enjoy being a designer rather than it becoming too much of a chore and really stressful. And for me, like anyone else, I've had a pretty stressful couple of weeks because I was off with. I can't say it on YouTube because I'm pretty sure it picks it up and demonetizes things and does weird things. But that virus that's been going around, I got it, sort of 3-4 weeks ago, and I lost a week, and then having to kind of catch up, and then I've got a short break coming up at the end of April next week actually. Woohoo! And so I'm trying to get a lot of work done so that I'm caught up for that, so that I'm not coming back. So yeah, it can be pretty stressful, but at the end of the day, I always come back to the fact that I love my job, and I'm just realizing more and more and more that a part of my job, which I'm developing now, is speaking to people like yourselves, and being able to help other people on their journey, other people on their design journey to improve and get better, and get more work and get better clients and be paid more and be more satisfied with the work that they do every day. So thank you for coming on the live stream. I really appreciate it. We'll hopefully be back in 2 weeks' time. But until then, you can jump in the Discord. We have Ask Me Anything sessions through voice chat in Discord, but I also answer questions if you just want to type them. Or you could even just join the Discord and just lurk in the background. I think we've got quite a few of those people who just sit in the background and just kind of read what people are typing about, but don't actually take part. I've got no problem with that either. It's not, you're more than welcome. So I'm going to call it a day. Christian Henry's saying time seems to freeze when we're talking about our work. Yeah, it does. Thanks everyone for coming on. And if I don't see you in the Discord, I will see you in 2 weeks' time here on the live stream. Stay creative, folks. Bye for now.